Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking on a big one, Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, the 1866 novel. Our mission really is to get into its psychological depth, the philosophy behind it, and, how it explores guilt, redemption, and where ideology can lead you morally. And just to set the stage, this isn't your typical crime thriller. It's much more a deep dive into a mind under, well, immense pressure. So let's start with the core, Rodion Raskolnikov. He's this brilliant but very poor ex-student in St. Petersburg. And he commits this murder not on impulse, but based on a theory. This idea that certain extraordinary people can step over moral lines. But the act itself is almost just the beginning, isn't it? It's his breakdown after that's so gripping.
That's absolutely right. And Dostoevsky's skill here is just, well, phenomenal. He doesn't just describe Raskolnikov's mind. He puts you inside it. You experience the chaos, the feverish thoughts, the guilt that starts eating away at him, and Raskolnikov himself. He's fascinating because he's both repellent and somehow sympathetic. You see his intellect, his pride, how he justifies himself. But then there's this buried compassion, this humanity that haunts him.
Yeah.
And through all that torment, Dostoevsky really digs into these huge themes, nihilism, the idea that maybe nothing matters,
Right.
and moral relativism, questioning if morals are fixed.
Yeah.
He shows how destructive these ideas can be for Raskolnikov, but also, crucially, leaves room for suffering and maybe redemption.
And it feels like the way the book is written, the structure itself mirrors his mental state. That really dense, intense, sometimes almost frantic style. It pulls you right into his head, doesn't it?
Exactly. It reflects his psychological unraveling perfectly.
And the setting, too, 19th century St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Those descriptions of the squalid streets, the tiny, suffocating rooms.
Oh, absolutely. The city isn't just a backdrop. It's like an externalization of his internal hell. It's oppressive, claustrophobic.
Right. And then we have the other characters around him, people like Sonia, Porfiry, Marmeladov. How do they fit into this psychological picture?
They're absolutely crucial. They act as moral foils, really. Each one shows a different way of dealing with suffering or a different moral path. Sonia, for example, she's the embodiment of, Christian humility and faith, a complete contrast to Raskolnikov's intellectual pride.
Okay.
Then there's Porfiry, the detective. He's brilliant. He plays this psychological game with Raskolnikov, trying to get him to confess through, internal pressure, not just evidence.
A battle of wits.
Exactly. And Marmeladov, the drunkard, he represents a different kind of degradation, the sheer human misery that Raskolnikov initially tries to see himself as above. Their interactions constantly force Raskolnikov to confront different aspects of humanity and suffering, pushing him towards a choice between isolation or connection.
So if we pull back a bit, what makes this book still resonate so strongly today? Why does it feel so relevant?
I think it's because it tackles questions that don't really go away. It doesn't give you easy answers about morality or existence. It forces you, the reader, to wrestle with these really complex issues. It shows pretty powerfully how any ideology taken to an extreme, can twist someone's moral compass, make them justify terrible things. It suggests that pure intellect, detached from empathy and the soul, it fails.
Right.
And ultimately, through Raskolnikov's journey, and maybe through Sonia's example, it argues that real redemption, if it's possible, involves humility, love, and accepting suffering. It's not quick or easy. Now, some readers might find the prose, a bit dense at first, or maybe the moralizing a little direct.
Sure, it can be demanding.
It can be. But I really believe it rewards that patience, the insights you get. They stick with you.
So wrapping this up, Crime and Punishment is definitely a harrowing experience in parts, but it's also profoundly rewarding. It's just one of those masterpieces that gets into your head and your heart.
Absolutely. And perhaps a final thought for you to consider, building on all this. Raskolnikov believes certain individuals could transcend moral law. How do we, today, grapple with that same allure of exceptionalism, that temptation to think the rules don't apply, and how might that distort moral judgment in our own time?